At least I don't think so. We'll work it through today, and then if it is a big problem, obviously we're gonna make the adjustment anyways. All right. Mic. I was asked to get the mic higher. Here we go. Okay. All right. Now let me get one more feature here ready for you guys. I appreciate the patience so far. Okay, so let's go look at some charts. I have no idea why I'm not showing up for you guys here on screen now, but I guess it is what it is. Oh, here we go. There we go. This might be a little too big. Okay, perfect. So let's look at the market. Right now we have indices setting up. Here we go. So we have indices setting up, and some good movement yesterday. Yesterday definitely, I think, tested some of my patience, to be honest. We wanted to get into buys here in this zone with Dow Jones. I wanted to see between NASDAQ and Dow. We were going back and forth whether we were going to get the proper opportunity, and here we go. Okay. So we were looking at buys and sells, and here I wanted to see us kind of get liquidity. I'm going to go one screen at a time over here. All right. So we were looking at, I'll start with NASDAQ. We were looking at buys. Yesterday I talked about how when we swept liquidity here and price action wasn't fully committed to everything going on over here, like this here, we were talking about, I'm like, look, this is no demand. The market came right back. It's struggling to hold levels below 21,250. We wanted to get buys. However, I wanted to get some sweeps of liquidity. And then the market didn't do that. And so this entire massive move was missed. So that was the first thing, right? That was a little unfortunate, a little frustrating, because we talked about how when the market squeezes and moves sideways like this, explosive moments are coming. Explosive moments. So yeah, we got it. Especially after squeezing for about 3.5 hours, we saw the movement. Now, then I was talking about potential sells with Dow or NASDAQ, and the issue, and this is a mistake. So, obviously we want to limit mistakes as we're trading, and we want to get better and better at this. Even as I've been trading all these years, so when I drew this out, for whatever reason, well, one, I drew this out from right there instead of down here. I didn't go to the small time frame to see where the movement started. So one, that's first mistake. Second, because of that, my mitigation zone didn't account for when the market pulled right back and then melted off of that zone. This is a clear exchange from buyers to sellers. So not a big deal there. Yeah, it's minus 1R, unfortunately, but, move on. But yeah, this was the mitigation. Big reason why this one didn't play out. And then Dow, this setup here no longer was valid because Dow was the most bullish between the indices. So that was why this sell-off wasn't going to work out. Okay, so now, we've seen the indices start to really crank it up. And right now, as we zoom into current price action, we're seeing we're bullish on the 5-minute, right? We're bullish on just this current structure, the higher lows, the higher highs, and just now what we're seeing is Dow is moving very interestingly. So Dow just came back up to here, just below this previous low, so very close, so just a few points, right? You know, depending on if we draw this out at the absolute high here, just a few points off. So we see that. Just a few points. Like, you really, very minimal. So we can justify this being equal highs. Now, we're going to have New York open in less than 5 here. So we're going to compare Dow and Nasdaq as well. Pues ahorita ahora ya llega acción de precio del momento. Vamos a comprar Dow Jones y Nasdaq. And what we're noticing is that Dow is definitely much more bearish than Nasdaq. Look at where we're at right now. Here was this low, this previous low, which was about 2 hours and 20 minutes ago. And you look at Nasdaq, it's just trading completely different. At the moment, it's just not dropping with the same intensity. So Nasdaq is definitely holding up much better. If we want to continue with the trend, at the moment, Nasdaq is definitely more bullish, and things are looking as if we could maybe trade NAS instead for buys. And the last move we really saw was we see the market drop all the way down to here. What's the downside of this? We create liquidity. Okay. On the other hand, and we can compare structure. Right here is the previous low, the London session low with NAS. And we have New York session low right there. So these are moving very different. Dow Jones dropping much more aggressively. So what could be setting up? The way I'm looking at this is we see a lot of momentum pick up right around here. There's this 6:45 a.m. Central Time movement. So we see right here, big pump to the upside before the market lures in buyers, builds up some more liquidity, then sells off. So if in regards to counter trend, this here does look like we could see a short. However, we want to be really, really mindful because of the previous high that we've seen right there. This clears these levels, gets to these zones, current price action. So right now, these things always change. But right now, Dow is definitely more bearish. Dow is filling in balance. It's coming back to these levels from London session. So do I want to buy Dow Jones at this instant? There's not really enough evidence. We have quite a bit of support building up over here, so not my favorite. And as we're looking at, NASDAQ, volume is picking up, and NASDAQ, what it did was NASDAQ just came back down and is absolutely ripping out of just a light pullback. So NASDAQ is trading much differently than Dow. Look at how bullish NAS is here. And then compare that with Dow. So they're both now starting to come back up. They're both starting to come back up now that Dow has started to rebalance this London session imbalance. So we saw it kind of rebalance. However, you have NASDAQ here setting up much differently. So what we can see from this moment is will we see New York open set up in a way for buys to play out with NAS? Are we going to see, for example, this massive sell-off here? Are we going to continue bullish, get confirmations for bullish structure, maybe get a buy position? Or are we going to see this continue to work its way down and then set up for sells later? That's the biggest thing right now. We want to see and make sure that all of this is on point, because now we're seeing Dow just obliterate. It looks like it's going to just sweep all of this liquidity, keep working its way lower. And you look at NASDAQ, it's dropping, but not the same kind of momentum. So the big thing is I wouldn't get in the way. Look at that. Dow has just been incredibly volatile, coming back down, creating even more liquidity, in my opinion. So just like that, I think we're going to end up clearing London session lows, and we may end up going Asian session lows as well. So if we want to sell something like this, definitely above New York Open is going to be a better play for us. And then if we compare this to there you go. Now NASDAQ is starting to drop. So with NASDAQ dropping less intensely, it's still moving down, but obviously it's nowhere near this movement. We can start to take a look at these plays. And in reality, the low is a few points below, right? So we do see the actual low right there. There is really a point of a difference here. So because NASDAQ right now, right? NASDAQ right now is trading within this structure. Could it reject this area? Well, let's see. We have a big drop. The market pulls up one more time, continues to drop here. So this market dropping here, it does clear some of these Asian session movements. It feels imbalanced, but is this a strong enough sell-off before the imbalance? This, in my opinion, lures in sellers, takes out buyers, and then we see the reversal. So could we see a reversal here? I think it's possible. But does this reduce our probabilities for a buy? Yes, for sure. Why, guys? Why does this reduce our probabilities for a buy? It's so close to these lows that we could argue that this is liquidity, that this support right here, that this previous low could be liquidity. That's the one reason that this trade may struggle if it plays out or if it gets to that zone. On the bright side, though, we're seeing Dow Jones absolutely melt through everything. So anyone looking to buy this, you guys have all avoided getting absolutely obliterated. So you avoided losing because you didn't take any of these positions. So that's great. Now, when Dow starts to get into this imbalance, though, the further and further it goes down, this is where we may see alignment with NASDAQ playing out. So if NASDAQ is just slowly working its way through, it's going to give us, complementary confirmations, because we can use both this, not only this, but also S&P 500. Right? S&P starting to fill some of this imbalance. S&P not dropping at the same pace as Dow Jones, and also not dropping at the same pace as NASDAQ. So I do think that we, especially seeing the massive contrast between how aggressively NASDAQ is dropping and how aggressively Dow is dropping, I think this buy can honestly play out for us here with NAS, because this is, it's a little iffy here. Like, is this liquidity? Is it not liquidity? Because of something like this, I do feel more comfortable approaching this with less risk. So it's one of those instances where it's so close where I don't have the conviction to say, yeah, that's absolutely totally not liquidity. We're not here to trade perfect, but we're here to trade close, like good enough. And that is kind of dropping the quality of the setup down just slightly for me. So I am going to take it, but I am going to take this with a little bit less, with less risk. That way the loss isn't, because we want to think the loss first. I don't want to take a 1R, a minus 1R, which is minus 1 risk. I'd rather be taking, you know, like minus half risk instead. So that's where I'm at with that setup specifically. And let's see where this goes. Okay. So for now, I'm waiting here. So I'll stay patient. Now, some of you might be looking at this and thinking, well, should we take a sell here? You know, the market sweeps the high and then pushes down. What about a sell? Well, the issue I have with the sell is that what we're seeing Dow has been just way more bearish. So I don't really love sells either. Not with Nasdaq. I'd rather sell Dow. Now Dow here did do New York Open right there. So New York Open, and I'll just show you guys kind of New York Open here. New York Open candle happened actually right before, big pump, clears that and then drops. So there's not really even anything to take with Dow Jones unless it's way up here. And even this setup, same situation. It's a few points off of the high. So are we going to consider this liquidity or not? And that's, if you have to question it, then the best thing that you can do is either reduce your risk or just not take it at all. What you don't want to do is suddenly just start, you know, you just kind of start forcing trades. So, okay, we're seeing Dow drop again. Here we go. Now Nasdaq starting to work its way here. So yeah, this is the setup I'm looking to take. Okay, let me get this all squared up on my account. All right, here we go. So we're looking at NQ, NASDAQ, MNQ. I'm looking to trade out of that zone that I have marked up here. And then contracts-wise, make sure your risk is set. I'm personally taking a smaller risk with this idea than I normally would just because of these lows, right? I'm not fully committed to that, whether that's equal lows or not. And then I'm setting this up here. Okay. Let's see. Make sure my contracts are set nicely. Here we go. All right, perfect. All right, so we're seeing more of an imbalance fill here with NASDAQ. And then as we're looking at Dow, the difference is Dow is starting to pull up as well pretty well. So looking at price action, it's like struggling to keep pushing down. So now we're starting to see a shift in momentum between Dow and NAS. Look at how Dow is starting to push beyond up here. And look at how NASDAQ is also moving to the upside, but breaking below here. So higher time frames wise, still looks pretty solid. And then Dow is looking like it's doing a good job rebalancing. I'm wondering if this is going to kind of play out of this zone again and then give us another drop. So going to follow up here. Did anyone take, I know some of you, obviously you trade a little different than I do. So did anyone take a entry with Dow maybe in this imbalance? Or did some of you take a buy on NASDAQ as soon as it came into this zone? Because at the same time, we know that the market started to drop from right here. Here's where we started to see a 47.50 point drop. So you have kind of like two zones. You have the beginning from right over here. So you have the market come from up to this side. And if that's the case, then right now, I mean, we're seeing such an explosive movement. If this keeps moving like this, then I'm going to argue that this is the mitigation. If it keeps just cranking this out. If it doesn't, then perfect. We still have, our opportunity further down the line. Because I'm looking to take this entry a little bit lower. Somewhere over here. And then see where we can go. But yeah, if the market keeps flying from this, then the argument would be that we saw the exchange, this whole sell-off, and the buyers came in right there. But if we're at right now, this is luring in buyers again just for this to drop, then that's a different story. The second thing we want to keep in mind is extra volatility. Because we do have news in 20 minutes. So we got news here coming. Also, just to get a quality control check in, everyone here so far, there's no drop in stream, no drop in quality, right? It's been smooth. Other than the latency, which I'll fix for Monday's stream. I think it's been good. So yeah, we'll have some news here in 20 minutes as well. And we're coming back down. So let's compare this drop with NASDAQ and where we're at with Dow. Both equally dropping here to the downside now. Fantastic. They're both really pushing here. It seems to me that Dow now, obviously Dow is trading below all of this. And NASDAQ is about to get into the range right there. So yeah, this is about to trigger one of my entry here. Getting pretty close. In this range, this could mitigate from here. So this could miss my entry, but at this point, this is where we could get reversals. Okay, we could get reversals from this area. The one thing though is look at how Dow is holding structure now compared to NASDAQ. Dow here suddenly is holding down the fort really, really well. So now we're seeing Dow Jones really hold the line. I have a feeling Dow's going to rip from here. So whether you're taking NASDAQ or you're taking Dow Jones, I see both playing out. Now, did anyone take NASDAQ right now? Did it trigger for you guys? This literally missed me by, yeah, I'm not going to lie, 2 points, I think. That's wild. Who's in this? I got missed by a little bit here. All right. Yeah, it's been the story of the week. Took it. I'm in NAS. I'm in. All good. Latency G for me. Slight delay. Now set a trigger at the order block in the mitigation zone. This one or this one? Which one are you trading out of? So we're getting a good reversal already. So nice. Right now about 20 points. So if this keeps moving, probably get into this previous block that was just created. Then yeah, we could say this is mitigation. So if you're getting wins, guys, make sure you drop them in the Tradetopia exchange. That is our free community. Everyone here has absolute access to that. If you don't, then I'll go ahead and share that with you guys right now. But here, look at that. Just perfect mitigation right out of the zone where we had a previous levels of support. I was, I guess, 2 points too ambitious for it to trigger me. But yeah, we played right where we've seen key reversal areas, key levels of support in the past. Just tapped that zone, and then we're now starting to see a good reversal. So let me make sure you guys all have an invite. And as of the right now, what's something that's super cool? As of right now, guys, in our first 10 days of opening our free community, we are in the top 5 ranked trading communities in school globally. So epic. All right. Here we go. Sweet. All right, perfect. All right, so yeah, I think we had the same exact entry there, Seth. Bye, Naz. Yeah, facts. All right. So if you did get into this, let's say somewhere over here, then you're more than likely, and you had your stop under here. So let's just say it was like something like that. Right now, you should be sitting above a 1 risk reward. We're just about mitigating this zone. So moving to break even is definitely a good idea. Going with momentum. So if we compare this movement with Dow Jones, we made the right decision, right? Going with what had more momentum. Dow is still not quite bullish, so we went with the more bullish, higher time frame entry. So NASDAQ was the play for sure here. What's up, Gio? Got it. Previous support. I'm going to go break even after it breaks the liquidity. What liquidity? Hey, Mike, morning. Hope you're doing good. It's Austin. Could you check on natural gas? What's up, man? Yeah, I can check in on it. Give me a little bit. All right, let me go through and even say what's up. What's up, Joe, Linda, Sen, Omar, Harshi, Puccini, Edgar. Shout out to Edgar. Got funded. Past phase 1. Correction. So good job, man. Love to see it. What's up, Eric, Corey, Pierre? Okay, so NASDAQ officially mitigated stops to entry. No reason to have any more risk on this idea if you're in there. If you have any pending orders, delete them. At least that's what I'm doing. So manage that effectively. What's up, Philippines? What's up, Amy? Greg, buenos dias. Ray, arigato. Super Naruto. What's up, Ireland? Juan, ¿qué tal, chicos? Aquí, si están en esta idea, muevan su stop loss at break even. Now, the first conservative exit with a move like this is, in the intraday rebalancing here. So this is not quite the open. The open was like right there. So the open is getting to this zone. Right now we're starting to build up some sideways movement. Chances of the market getting above New York Open, I'd say, are pretty high. So holding the trade makes sense. It is going to be a great day. It is a great day. It's already a great day. You woke up. What's up, Karen, Jose Luis, Jose Alonso? ¿Qué tal, chicos? Carlos, Greg, Haulani. Can you give me like a little pronunciation thing? Because I know I always struggle with your name. What's up, Nancy? Gonzalo. You got a crazy name. XXX Soul. What's up, Soul? Amy. Bogusla. What happened in IM Academy? Y'all just came here for the tea, huh? You're like, who cares about trading? What's the tea? AKO. I don't know. Rodrigo. Pazao. All right, hello everyone. Santiago. Good to see everyone in here. You took the buys on NQ. Got the drip. Lonnie. Well, that makes it a lot easier, huh? Sergio, what's up? Xavier, let's go for more. Yes, sir. All right, good stuff, guys. Okay, so obviously this is managed. If this keeps going lower, I am not taking anything. This trade is over. Spill the tea. There's no tea to spill, really. Like, people moving on. Company just going south. It is what it is. Sol 12, Dolce. Okay. Is there a recording on Nancy's yesterday call? I don't know. There should have been. I don't remember if she recorded or not. So I'll confirm with her. Got a 0.5 a pip first trade with UG. Got a 0.5 a pip. What does that mean? W? I know my session from yesterday was recorded. I'm not sure about Nancy's. I think she may have forgotten to record it. Okay, so when this hits a 2R, I'm going to have an alert set so that you guys are on point with this idea. And then I know a lot of you are at a fixed risk reward at a 2. I think we probably clear these highs. There's a lot of stops for sells above this zone. So I think there's a chance of that. But the most conservative exit is just within this imbalance. Take it, and then you're good. That being said, let's go take a look at cryptos. Yesterday, I stayed out of Bitcoin sells because we had ETH lagging behind, and we had Sol lagging behind. So ETH kind of tagged it into the zone just barely, whereas our altcoins are still really dragging behind on their move. So altcoins losing a little bit of steam, whereas Bitcoin kind of leading the pack on the bullish side of things here. As of yesterday, today, we're starting to see still Bitcoin with a bit more strength compared to ETH and Sol, specifically ETH. So I'm waiting to see how much we keep moving to the upside. I do like sells on Solana at around. Join the free community if you want access to any things in there. All right. So yeah, basically sells above 177 is what I like for Solana. Thoughts, emotions, actions. There you go. With the liquidity to the downside, why a smaller lot size instead of placing your stop below the liquidity? Is that just probability of it playing out or not playing out? So that's a very good question. Instead of just opening up my stop for this trade and saying, hey, like same risk but just bigger stop, because the probability of winning is lower based off of my understanding, and because I'm not sure if this was liquidity or not, and it was going to rate it, if I open up my stop, then, well, now I have to guess, well, how big is this liquidity SIP going to be? Just small? Is it going to be a lot? And then my risk reward suffers because now I need a bigger stop. So I'd rather just say, okay, well, if it isn't going to sweep liquidity, then I can keep a decent risk reward, and I'd rather have a good risk reward with less risk than making my stop loss, my protective stop, massive, and then now it has to travel, way further even for me to collect anything. So that's kind of the difference in how I look at it. What's up, Damien? Good question. Yeah, if you get in W's, yeah. So at the top, I have it pinned. Click that. Join the free community. And then I'll be accepting you guys. Let's see. I can accept some of you. We're about to hit 900 people in the free community. Epic. All right, Braulio, I just let you in. If your profile looks weird, I'm not gonna let you in. Just letting you guys know. Exactly. Protective stop. Yes. Okay. Cool. Now let's go look at some majors while indices are rolling out. One thing too that I want to keep in mind before we move on, which we'll come back to here, is Dow. Dow did a really good job of briefly breaching below yesterday's Asian session and the second half of the New York session. So Dow came all the way back down to rebalance and then move on. NASDAQ here was more efficient from these levels anyways already. So it came back down to the zone, mitigate from here, and it looks like, it might just keep on pushing forward from here as well. So the momentum continues over here. If I'm going to take a sell position, it would be with Dow. Also, the same principles apply here. These highs are so similar. They're very, very close to one another. Obviously, they're not exactly equal. But because we're seeing a form of distribution here, right, where we see these London session highs get swept, and then the market, this is basically the peak. After it lures enough sellers, it makes one more push before it drops. So we could see a reversal here, but because we're just a few points away from the high, I'm not necessarily completely in love with the idea, and we're trading against the trend. So taking a full risk on that seems a little careless. Un poquito de español, porfa. Básicamente las compras van bien. Con Nasdaq, stop loss a break even. Si voy a vender algo sería con Dow Jones, pero como estamos muy cerca a tener altos iguales, liquidez aquí arriba, prefiero operar esto con menos riesgo que con el riesgo completo. Okay. Cool. Let's change things up here. And let's go look at what these dollar pairs are doing right now. Let's go into some Forex. Appreciate you guys. Hey, shout out to all of y'all hitting the like button, subscribing, joining the community. We love to have you guys in here. There we go. Looks like, what is this thing? What's the super chat? Set a goal to engage with your audience. I guess that's cool. Cool. What's up, Damien? Voy a explicar de nuevo porque no considerabas esos bajos iguales liquidez. Porque pues no eran exactamente igual, estaban cerca, obviamente. Entonces dije, como esto aquí estaba cerca, podemos ver la diferencia. Aquí obviamente deja un poco de espacio aquí. Vemos la captura de liquidez, deja un poco de espacio. Como no estaba al 100% seguro si es liquidez, no es liquidez, decidí eliminar la mitad de mi riesgo, no operar con el riesgo completo, solo con la mitad. Por si el caso no se nos daba, no teníamos esa pérdida tan fuerte. Igual con la de Dow Jones. So something interesting that I'm noticing here is how we're trading right now. So let me bring up the 1 minute. How we're trading right now, we got below this low, and then we're barely staying here. So this looks more like a squeeze. This most likely is going to get another explosive movement. But right now we're seeing how when we get below these lows, it's like no demand. It came below 21,420 and then right back up. It's just struggling. Maybe we see another wick down and then it just rips again. Something like that I could see possible. While Dow is just fully recovering the imbalance that we had seen before. Coming right back to this area here. So, yeah, I'm curious to see how aggressively Dow keeps moving, where we're at by the time we, get over here. Because, yeah, US 30 is currently ripping. So NAS had the head start, and then now it's just building up tons of sellers, building up tons of buyers. This is a squeeze. So once this breaks out, it'll be an aggressive move. It might do two things. It might sweep down then up or up then down. And you have, yeah, exactly. Thanks, Kevin. We got news in about 30 seconds. So right now, keep your cool. Keep your risk what it's supposed to be. Don't trade what you want to make, right? Trade what you're willing to lose. I'm going to say that one more time. Don't trade what you want to make. Trade what you're willing to lose. Trade what you're willing to lose over and over and over again. Otherwise, you're just going to end up with a pile of drawdown and regret because you chose your feelings and your emotions instead of the plan. All right, just like that, we see the wick down with NQ, right? That liquidity sweep that I was talking about. We're seeing Dow play down again. So at this moment, I think what we're going to end up seeing is now we can kind of get a good pace with the rest of the market. Now that it's swept, I think we could see everything unfold from here. So whether it's going to be Dow, whether it's going to be Nas, we'll see. But now we see the rebalance here, and we can see the market continue its journey. So with this rebalance and with NASDAQ sweeping liquidity, like I had mentioned, just like that, if it's going to go, it would go now. Right? If this is going to make its movement, it would do it now rather than, it doesn't really have much more liquidity to take. So from here, now that buyers are out and it's exchange of money, we have a shot that this can continue to rip. So if you survive this, shout out to you. If you took an entry because you wanted to, let's say, take a re-entry after liquidity, then great. Otherwise, you're not worried about anything here, and you're just observing. Because guess what? That's an option too. Or you took Dow. Let's say Dow was your setup. You said, okay, this is going to be a break and retest. It'll lure in sellers again, and then finally rip. So one of these two are going to end up probably being the movement. Like I was mentioning, I think we have more to go. I think we can continue to rally, especially because we see NASDAQ leave quite a bit of liquidity up here as well. So I think sweeping this, getting to above New York Open seems to be like what the target would be like here. So we're seeing another continuation on the bull side here as well. Okay. All right. So here, did anyone take another position after it's up liquidity, or did anyone add an entry, stack an entry once it rebalanced with Dow? How did you all approach this? Or did you just stay out of the market and you're just kind of watching everything unfold? Let's see here. Let me see the chat. How do you know buyers are out? The market. So when I said buyers have been swept, because here, I'll make it easier for you to see. So you see how we were moving sideways here, and it was a buildup of support. So that's a buildup of liquidity, even if it's only for 10 minutes, 12 minutes. But this is luring in buyers and buyers and buyers and buyers. This news event like this sweeps all of this, and then the market. Once this is done and stops are triggered, then there's an exchange of swapping of positions at this exact price, because money can now be swapped at this price. And then in regards to trade management, with the way that this is moving, I would feel definitely more comfortable tightening up stops on NQ buys, at least a little bit. And then with Dow, definitely you have some of this. So at some point, this might come back for this money. But I think we'll continue to rally first. But we'll see. Okay. That was a very explosive news event. Stayed out. Spectator after missed entry originally. Watching, stayed out. I'm just watching everything, observing. I love that. A lot of patience in here. Caught the Nas buy, closed partials at 1-to-1 and leaving other half to run. Cool. I stayed out. Curious if you're bullish gold with current price action. This week has been so shit for me. You sound emotional. Why? In which way? Is it shit because you're not getting what you want, or is it because you're not doing things how you should be doing them? And guys, also, like, when I ask these questions, I'm not trying to be a dick. I just want to check our awareness, you know? It's at the end of the day, everything I ask or say is because, like, we got to help each other grow. You know, you're not here so I can just make you feel good and like, oh, drop some W's in the chat if you made some money. You know, like, that's kind of useless if you're not getting better. So my goal is for growth here. It's not for dopamine hits over and over and over again so we feel nice and fuzzy. If we gotta address things, we gotta address things. Nas at my stop loss and then flew, took a stop loss on US 30. Why'd you trade US 30? And then how are you managing your stop with Nas? What was the management like? So NQ right now, if we're looking at the difference, look at that. So it's still building up liquidity, but it's still rebalancing with Dow. NQ slightly looks like it's a slightly more aggressive drop. So I wonder if this is just going to keep building up liquidity. And then that's it. Because this just barely poked above as well. And is now looking to target all the way back down. So definitely testing. Definitely here. This is a emotional roller coaster of for buyers and sellers. It's like, what is it doing? What's it going to go? And here's where you start to see people get swept on one side, get swept on the other side, and get taken out on the other side. And it can be a disaster if people just choose to keep adding and adding and adding to their positions without having clarity on what their plan or strategy really is. And they're just trading their emotions instead of trading their systems. Just nothing has gone in my favor, probably because I'm not doing the things I'm supposed to. I would start there. I'd say don't worry, don't focus on things going in your favor. Just recalibrate, reset. Forget about this last trade. What's the next one look like? What's a A+ setup? And that's it. Do that. Okay. So we have currencies kind of chilling. Currencies, at least Australian, more of like intraday ranging right now. We saw a reversal during London session. Well, towards the end of Asian session, we started to see more of a reversal here, playing out of this imbalance, selling off. Right now, we saw this. Here was a nice little sweep of the low. Market gave us a high. And then right now it's kind of building up more and more liquidity. So on the intraday stuff here, we have some sideways movement, possible mitigation, but is odd USD the setup to take? Let's see. Well, we look at NZD USD. Looks like it's a bit more bullish. We see the sweep below right there. So here, I think, is what some of you might be looking at. So you might be looking at something like this. Okay. Little sweep and a move. All right. Quick check in here. Dow coming back down. Looks like it's left some money up here. Looks like it's pushing into these lows again. Interesting. All right, so there's NAS or NZD. Euro is just squeezing, so this is fun. What do you think is happening here? Bunch of sellers, bunch of buyers, tug of war between both. What's it going to be? Who's going to win? So anything for, I haven't done anything here with Euro because to me, there's no sign of an exchange of money. There's no, oh, here's where sellers would come in. Here's where buyers would come in. Nowhere here in this range at all. If we look at GBP USD, similar. Came back up to here. We worked our way up. Right now, it's similar perspective. This is building up liquidity. Retail buyers lining up here through trend line, stacking orders, predictable liquidity build up. And then on this side, yeah, didn't really have much to do here. Market came down to this zone, pull back, drop. So I'm pretty much indifferent with dollar right now. If we're going to buy anything, it would be between all of these ideas. It would have been maybe this with NZD, but even then, when we're making our way back up, we're coming right back down. So we're in a lot of chop here, and I'd rather not force anything if it's not abundantly clear. So taking it easy with the setup. I know some of you were looking at USD CAD here. Here we had that big move up, and then we had equal highs. So I was okay with missing out on a sell-off here if this was going to stay. It was a vulnerable trade because of the liquidity here. Ends up playing out, and I wonder if, I don't remember if futures chart had more clarity, so let's see. Futures was the same. It poked right. It did get below, so I guess we could argue that it went a whopping half pip below. So, yeah, I mean, I wasn't totally excited about shorting that. If you don't consider liquidity, then cool, yeah, you could have seen the exchange from buyers to sellers. However, how many times do we see this just get rated anyways? So not a big deal. All right, so we're seeing indices still indecisive after that big push with the news event. Dow a bit more bearish than NQ than NASDAQ at the moment. So maybe this rebalances what this is wanting to do before it rallies, or it's going to just target these lows. At the end of the day, I think everyone here has managed their positions accordingly. So from here on out, there's not much else to do there. Just kind of let the markets make decisions. So yesterday we talked about USD CHF playing out of this range. It ends up triggering and rejecting, so that was a little mitigation there. Then, right at the moment, we're still pending for setup here. Here we had a sell-off and then the continuation. We have same thing here, right? So this ends up going. Alfredo was the one that pointed this setup out. So the big sell-off here was there. This was the 37 pips or so. We see the market reverse right here. Mass reversal, about 32 pips. So technically, this was his trade, right? My trade was looking a little lower. Got down to here. Very borderline. And then London session, CHF. CHF find some weakness, and then it reverses. So if you took the setup and you had the lower entry, then it was valid for you to still be in this. So right now, you're probably locking some in here. Next week, I do think we can see the buys setting up over here. So I'm not going to swing trade this. Just going to keep waiting it out. So I'm going to set some alerts here from where we get by the time that we get over here. Okay. Almost there, guys. I know y'all want gold. Y'all are just fiending for some gold. this USD JPY sell that I believe like Michael Long, you both were talking about this. Long, I know this is cringy or cheesy, but are you naturally like a buyer? Like, do you naturally go long, like just because it's literally your name? I would be. If that was my name, I'd be standing on business. Okay, let's see. Agradecido, ¿qué tal, chicos? Goes up for sure bet. If I've been trading indices for over 8 months, any tips to add in about these markets between New York and London sessions? Let's see. I'm trying to think about that question. Any tips to add in between? Let me see if I can understand this question better. If I've been trading indices for over 8 months, any tips to add in about these markets between New York and London? Okay, got it. So, yeah, sure. If you're not, so okay, let's say you're trading. Let's say you're in Europe and it's just easier for you to have trade. Those are your trading hours between London and New York. Usually, what you can see is during London, I don't know if you're gonna always get a setup, but you could see the London session create volatility, sweep Asian session, choppiness, whether it's to the upside or whether it's to the downside. So that's something that you can think about. So if you're like, okay, I want to consider London highs, or I want to consider just the different times of trading, then like here, for example, here you see London building out. And then once we start getting closer to the London-New York overlap, now you see a liquidity sweep and the momentum shift. So same thing. New York kicks things off. What you'll see is post New York Open, it likes to target previous session liquidity or the last few days of liquidity. In this example here, we see New York Open go and target Asian session lows, all of these Asian session lows, and then it even targets that second half of New York session. It finds the previous day's rebalance or imbalance, does that, and then now the market moves on. So here's another example with NASDAQ, right? NASDAQ, what do we see? We see New York Open. It gets below a few hours of consolidation, leans into this London session imbalance, mitigates the sweep, because we saw the market towards the end of Asian session going into London. We see the market sweep consolidation and fill Asian session imbalance, and then we see the move to the upside. So this is how you can kind of understand the psychology of money being pulled into the market, how people are lured in, different batches of sessions, and yeah, go from there. So, all right, NASDAQ finally, it took its sweet ass time, finally clearing that liquidity. Beautiful. Dow lagging behind just a little bit. Okay. So now it seems like the market's regulated. It's found its inefficiencies. We've seen the moves to rebalance here now. So this looks relatively efficient. And then the liquidity that it created here looks like that should be swept here soon. Going over to NASDAQ, All of this to me looks like an inability to create enough demand down here. So having, your stops adjusted, whether it's, down to here, maybe way over here, before all of this ran, this to me makes a lot of sense. Stops in profit. Obviously, you have this big candle here. Huge movement. I feel like we're seeing NAS kind of lead the move to the upside. So I don't think it's going to mitigate something like this, especially because we just didn't see the shift in momentum and higher time frames were just bullish anyways. So I think we're going to keep rallying. But this now should have hit just around a 2R for those of you that took the entry down here. If anyone took a different entry at a different time, then obviously, whatever, your risk reward is looking a little bit different. But yeah, here's where we're at, guys. Let me look at the chat. Correlation indices. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so it looks like, let's see, NAS NQ, liquidity sweep, starting to lose some momentum. So could this just be luring in buy stops, taking out sellers, and then does it want to come back down? Dow Jones here has created more liquidity for now. Had a nice little drop, incentivizing sellers. Where's everyone at so far? How are we? Anyone lock in some profits? Hold throughout all of this choppiness? Because this explosiveness, like this type of squeeze for a good, 50 minutes, like I said before, this leads to big movements. Aggressive movements. This is where the market can kind of just run. I feel like my analysis is good. I need to stop taking such low time frame setups like 1 minute without really any clarity. Half risk on shitty setups that go against the trend, and definitely keep an eye on correlations. Okay, yeah, do that. Okay, so right now, big thing, guys, we're seeing Dow just kind of tap above this, getting right above these highs. Mediocre, I'd say, for something, if you were going to consider this a liquidity sweep. It gets above just a few points, and then now it's working its way back down. We're seeing NQ start to rebalance as well. NQ, though, much more volatile on the way up, on the way down. So right now, in terms of entries, re-entries, I wouldn't say we have anything super concrete at the moment. And then Dow a little bit less aggressive in its movement overall, whether it's up or down. Now break even in NAS. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Mago. Cool. Stopped out at break even on NAS after the news opened. That's fine. Survived NQ buys. Nice. Nice. Yeah, I wanted to see this liquidity sweep and how it compared. So I got a nasty entry on this one. I didn't get my entry here, but I did get my entry over here. So I'm going to stop some profit right now. Nice, guys. Well, happy to see some of you got to collect something. Some of you I saw 1 Rs, 1.5 Rs. Some of you still holding. Some of you protected your money, so at least you didn't endure any losses. Going about it in a responsible, structured manner. Love that. Not chasing what you want, but just following along with just what is. That's the key. Okay. Gold. Gold. Y'all want the gold. All right. I see y'all. Okay. So, what are we waiting for here? Now, yesterday, gold swept tons of liquidity. it was on a rampage, correct? Then Asian session comes along, and everything comes melting back down. Silver, same thing, goes back up to rebalance, sweeps liquidity, then everything comes crashing back down. So does this give you a ton of confidence on buying? Do the buys, are these like a confidence-filled buy? When I see the New York session in the next session get immediately basically rebalanced, and we see as quick as we go up, we go back down, it doesn't give me the most confidence that we're going to continue, right? If you look at, for example, like you look at this on the 8-hour. This day, sure, it closes bullish, but then we just come right back down. So what is the intent behind this? So when it clears the low, what does it do? It activates sell stops, clears out retail buyers. Fantastic. The market continues. So as soon as it comes back up, okay, this then now triggers the break and retest players, but it happens really fast. So we see, okay, well, there's really not that much demand over here. But then as quick as it goes up, it comes back down. So then we understand, well, then that means that there's not that much demand over here. So where's the demand? What's it going to be? Is it actually still down here then? So do we have just a wider range of this sell to the sellers and buyers in terms of like actual positions? So when we see something like this, where instead of the market, in my opinion, of course, this is how I see things. This doesn't give, oh, here's structure, we're super bullish. This to me looks like enticement. So yeah, that's why I don't really love this, and especially since we've already been in a downtrend. I'd rather trade this differently. The market comes back down again, so it's here. Gold is here. Gold is, I think, holding up a bit better on the downside. So what do we see here then? Well, let's take a look at this again from a different angle. We saw gold pump up to this zone, great rebalance, and then drop. Okay, well, let's get a little more detail. Let's go to the 15-minute. Get back up to here. Fantastic. Gets up into this imbalance, then drops. Okay, let's see. Are we going to consider this? Are these equal highs? Is this just a rebalance? What do we got going on over here? Ooh, liquidity. Rough. So you see lots of money come in here towards the end of New York session. Creates liquidity. Drops back down. I would have loved to even look for maybe sells over here, but that's not quite adding up. But we can zoom in some more just to get more understanding on the market. During Asian session, you see it clear these highs, get to these levels, work its way back down. If you look at silver here did a great job of mitigating this sell-off. So we see the exchange from sellers to buyers. Silver here trading within the range. It's got liquidity over here. So because of how aggressively the market's moving, let me just check in on indices real quick. I see we're dropping tremendously. So Dow kept pushing above here. NASDAQ now kind of struggling to keep on moving to the upside. So this right there. What we may see, guys, maybe we get one more setup today. would be the fact that NQ at the end of the day, just not as bullish as Dow, despite there being very little demand over here. I think we may just go and, maybe we see another clearance and then we move up again. Maybe something like that happens. Maybe even right now we could see a rejection. But I think if you're, I wouldn't enter again, but if you're already running, kind of just trailing your stop, fine. Just keep seeing if NASDAQ will hold and just run with you. Otherwise, it does look like Dow may want to target further down and then make its movement. So if we look at it like from this angle, since we're noticing, especially when you go to the higher time frame, it's struggling to keep demand here. So it comes back down, comes back up, comes back down, comes back up. So if that's going to be the case, then and we're going to see Dow drop pretty significantly, or NASDAQ drop significantly. Dow right now is starting to rebalance. So I think right now we're seeing basically Dow luring in, filling in balance, and then maybe we see it run up again. So just something to keep in mind, guys. I'm not saying to take anything or anything like that, but what I'm just saying is that could be the nature of what the market wants to do right now, is it's looking to rebalance before it rallies. So remember, guys, when I'm showing you kind of the behaviors of the market, it's not always like, hey, take this trade. It's like, just understand how the market works. Not everything is about getting into the market. It's about just being able to understand the behavior, so you can learn how to manage your trade better, so you can learn how to just trade at it from a different capacity. So yep, here you see the sweep and balance. So this is why the market loves to come back and retarget some of these zones. So yeah, maybe this, now it's rebalanced. This might just go from here. Maybe it goes a little lower, then it runs. Okay. Starting to see a little bit of a rejection here on Dow. Going back to metals, though, because it's so up and down, it's inconclusive. So I'm not really taking too much. I'm not really doing too much there with metals for now. Kind of chilling. I know I was asked about natural gas earlier, so let me pull that up. Natural gas just working its way down. Looks like we're seeing a shift in momentum on the 1 hour, so structure has changed. After we saw some big movements back up to here, now we're seeing this was a version of distribution. The market rejected this move down, and then here, if we're going to see a continuation, I'd want to see higher highs here first before we start kind of just going for longs. We already saw the rebalance out of here, the move, so there may be a sell in the future up there towards 3.75. Here looks like the market just rejected this pump after creating very good structure. So all right. Now back to Dow. Here it is. So this is what I was showing you guys, the rebalance. I think the market wanted to rebalance in here and then could rip again. This obviously, since Dow's been more bullish, it just brings NASDAQ further and further down. So now NASDAQ clears all of these lows. There's a chance it runs from here. I think there's a really good chance we might just see this go again, because now we get a brand new low. If it doesn't and it holds here, then we have a totally different game we're playing, right? Then we might be in the market of selling, right? We might see a short position line up. So that's kind of the beauty of just kind of letting the market unfold, having enough context to be able to take the right positions. So now you're seeing a full Dow rebalance. NQ. Here, clearing out all of this choppiness. S&P 500 working below these lows as well. And if any buys were ever going to be valid, or if any the motive behind retracements like this, specifically because Dow is the one that really shows great demand and it's holding the best, it was to rebalance this move. So that right there playing out. Anyone take Dow Jones here? Obviously, we didn't have the cleanest of this 1 minute higher high, but what was in favor here wasn't so much the 1 minute structure. It's the higher time frame. Right, looking at it from here, even if you look at it on the 1 hour and seeing how this was just a sweep of liquidity, creating then a different perspective, right? Rebalancing over here. We see that there's very little demand. So I think that was the kind of the biggest thing with understanding how this all goes. However, on the other side of the coin, at some point in time, the market is going to favor higher time frames over lower time frames, but the small time frame inefficiencies get cleared up relatively quick. Okay. All right. Let's see what we got from here. Australian. Ooh, majors. Melton here. This current. All right, look at that. Pushing down. NASDAQ working its way as well. Filling in balance. We're seeing Euro finally commit to some movement here. So this current, look at that. Melting through. Very nice. Might want to clear these lows and then see something reverse. That's a possibility. GU starting to clear this trend line. Liquidity as well. Decent. Decent. This little super liquidity, you know, we saw the market trade up to here. You just might see a reversal out of here. We didn't get higher highs or anything, so this isn't a 10 out of 10. This isn't an A+ setup. Maybe like a B-, because yes, you see liquidity sweep. Of all of the dollar pairs, this is holding up the strongest compared to its previous low. Everything else is clearing lows. So NZD USD, not a bad idea. And then let's see, we're looking at silver, natural gas, and that takes us back to crypto. Crypto, relatively choppy. Sol, ETH, Bitcoin, a lot of this just back and forth and back and forth. So if anything's going to happen, um, because of we're still really more than anything experiencing a lot of squeezing. Yes, we've made some lows, we've come back, but at the end of the day, this is still relatively sideways. This is still relatively sideways, so I don't think we've really seen the movement of the day. So stay vigilant. Have some alerts set maybe at lows and highs, so that you don't have to be glued and frozen onto this screen, and we can go from there. What I'm gonna do is one thing right now is I'm gonna announce a winner from the wins category here in the Tradetopia free community. So like I said earlier, if you're in here, I dropped the post that I was going to do some giveaways, giveaway some funded accounts. I have no affiliation. So if you want to drop your win, I'm going to give you guys right now any type of win. This could be, here we go. How do we want to go? This could be just like if you hit some RR, if you had a breakthrough, if you just trade disciplined, you're on a streak of doing the right things the right way for whatever it is. So I'm going to give you guys like 90 seconds to make a new post in here if you want to. And then I'm going to have, let's see, I'll have Nancy choose just from here and then go from there. So you guys have about 90 seconds. I'm going to be right back. All right. I'll be right back here. If you leave, cool. You leave. You don't have to stay for this. That's fine with me. But if you want a chance at winning, then just drop your post here of just something that, whether it's win, you got funded, you passed the phase, whatever it is, then we're going to choose a couple people here for a nice little giveaway. All right. So go from there. And yeah, I'll be right back. Yeah. So you want to go through this?
Just choose someone?
Yeah.
Or just call them?
What do you mean?
Or just choose one person?
I said choose two. Yeah.
Randomly?
Choose whatever you want, dude. We run this thing. It don't matter.
This is a lot of pressure.
That's all right. I'll be right back. Camera's on.
Hi guys. Happy Friday. All right, so we got a good amount of wins in the chat, and we've only been around, established 2025, right? We've only been around for like a week. So really good to see all of these wins. He thought I heard him, but I didn't. All right, we got TP on US 34%, a 4% risking a 0.5. Okay, we got some new ones coming in. We gotta do this little toggle guy. There we go. I'm sorry, Joe. I tried clicking on it. I did. All right, we got Joe with the win. There we go. That looks like a 2-to-1, probably. Nice job, Joe. TP on, I think that's meant to be my NAS 100. Another NAS 4R. Oil hit 3R. Okay, Corey and oil. I see what you're doing there. Building a little relationship. Small win on gold. Phase 1 has been passed by Edgar. One step closer to being funded. And I don't know who this is with, so you guys can do that. A US 30 bias, okay. Nice. Looks like a 3-point-something R. 50K funded, let's go. Mid-month recap, good. I love to see the transparency here. That's pretty lit. Okay, I'm gonna go with Fabio.
He's doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Fabio for being transparent, for showing everything. Wow, big difference.
Is he the first winner?
Yes.
Sick. Fabio, I don't know if you're here. Congrats, bro.
And then trading session recap, US 30, 1 to 3.
Did you refresh it?
Yeah, I did. I put the newest ones. Oh,
There's
just kidding.
5.
Oh, there's 5 more. Okay.
All right, and then you can set it here so
Yeah.
you can see the newest.
NASDAQ.
Injured his hand. Okay. You trying to get injury points? Man down.
Pity points. Okay. Small win, perfect exit, 1 to 2. US 30.
All right, we like that.
This is hard.
Yeah, I probably should randomize it next time.
Yeah, right. I can't choose favorites. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm just gonna close
choose.
my eyes.
All right. Here, I'll sweep this crazy. This is all weak. And then now you move it up or down, and then choose somebody. Down. Yeah, there you go. Keep going. All right, her eyes are closed, so.
Okay. Who's on here? Is this probably
Edgar
like multiple?
Salinas.
Wait, I already chose him.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought you said that was the first one.
That was the first one.
You said Fabio.
Oh, just kidding. Oh, my bad. Okay, yes. So Fabio and Edgar.
All right, cool.
All right.
All right, Fabio, Edgar. Y'all the wieners. Y'all the wieners. Congrats, guys. All right, good stuff. Sweet. My discipline has increased just joining the community and so much you have grown over the years, Mike. I just have to follow the plan to get it right. Sometimes it's that easy. I'm just playing, Omar. I hope your hand is okay, man. All right, cool. So Fabio, if you're on, and then who else was it? Edgar, if you're on, let us know. Otherwise, guys, we're going to do it again. First evaluation passed. Let's go. What a beast. Just like that. Hey, good stuff, man. I don't know. Oh, it's the fivers. Nice. Dude, sick. Keep it up, man. Did you literally just pass this right now? Let's go. Good work, guys. Now, here's the biggest thing. Go ahead, guys. Go journal this. Go make it work. Secured a nice 1 to 3 short on NAS after the sweep. Dude, well done. Well done. All right, perfect. All right, guys. Good session. Great week. We'll see how things develop here overall. I'm taking a look at just how we're seeing indices continue to move. We finally got that push all the way down on NASDAQ at the extreme of yesterday. So we're seeing this just as an evolution. Did you guys go ahead and close out? Hopefully some of you took something out of this NAS position, but we just saw a big pullback here on NQ all the way back to the low. So it finally rebalanced this section. And then with Dow still doing, I'd say, a pretty good job at staying within the structure. Came back to this zone before moving on to the upside. So let's see how it all rallies, my friends. And then we'll go from there. So good stuff. Keep an eye on anything else. Any new things are going to be through the community that's pinned. And then appreciate y'all showing love, support in the chat. Made 3K on the Apex account. Let's go. What a savage. What a savage. So Kevin's going crazy. That's that boy. We're doing it live. He ain't playing. So at the end of the week, as you guys are nice. Did you trade this right here? I feel like you caught a little setup here. Caught this meltdown. But as you guys are going through everything, make sure you're journaling, write your things down, get your thoughts together, close any loops that you have, whether you missed something, you mismanaged. Don't carry that over to next week, right? Lock that in, close it out. Yeah, Kev is killing it, bro. You got to start streaming here with me at this point, man. Because you catch the ones that I don't catch, so it's nice. You get kind of both sides of the game. A little different with the entry model too. So what's up? Yeah, what's up, Nico? What's good? All right, guys. Peace out. Much love. I'll be posting a long form video, I think tomorrow, and then you guys, our editor here, Tom, he's been going crazy. with the shorts. So, as you guys have probably noticed, the shorts are getting pumped out basically every day. But yeah,